All right, we're back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. We're talking elder law and things like reverse mortgages. Our last caller talking to Chris Johnson here about, a friend of hers who had a tough time with it. And one of the things she said was once she signed on to this reverse mortgage, she was getting a lot of mail, and the company that was doing it with them kept checking up on her.
That's right.
Which can sound like badgering, but at the same time, during the commercial break, you're making it clear to me these companies have an investment here, and they're trying to monitor it. So you should expect that to come with a reverse mortgage.
Absolutely. So they have an interest, if that home were to burn down or something, they need to make sure that it's insured, and it'll be the resident's responsibility to maintain the insurance on it.
Okay.
The taxes, they don't want to lose it to a tax lien because the government would come in and say, hey, taxes are owed on the property and put a lien, and that encumbers their ownership in it, and they need to make sure taxes are paid, it's insured. They want to make sure the resident's still living there, because if the resident's still living there, what are the odds it's being kept up, the utilities, the house is being maintained, and it's not turning into a dilapidated state. And so they are running a business, and it's tough because a lot of these companies, I think, have bad reputations, and unfortunately they've probably earned them. But it doesn't mean they're all bad. There are some reputable ones who see this as a wise investment and see this, hey, we're providing a benefit to this individual who would like a revenue stream while at the same token wanting to live at home. And so I think that brings me to my next theme, which is when you're going to look at an endeavor like this, especially something that maybe you'll only enter into one time in your life, bring in an expert, sit down with an attorney. She said, well, she had to bring in an attorney on the back end to kind of help sort it out and fix it. And I always say it is much cheaper to bring in the attorney on the front end and do a little planning, because at the end of the day, I think with reverse mortgages, most people will find is there's a better planning tool out there. Are there reputable companies out there? I think there are a few. Are there disreputable companies? I think there are plenty, probably way too many. But at the end of the day, there's probably a better planning tool out there, because essentially what they're asking for is, I want to live at home, but I need an extra source of income. I need an extra source of revenue.
So what could you do instead? You could take out a second mortgage just on your own?
You could take out a second mortgage, but you could, I think the question is, where are we trying to get to? I always say start with the end in mind. Where is our end state? When you plan a vacation, the first thing you put out is, where are we going? So I would, with every client, I ask, where are we going? Where are we trying to end to? And maybe it turns out, maybe they're afraid they're going to lose the house and they need some Medicaid planning. Maybe they're a veteran and they don't realize that VA benefits are available because they're paying for these because their health care costs are increasing. They don't know where else they can get the money because no one has told them that these other plans, these other benefits are out there and available to them. And so I just think, is there a segment of people who that might be a good tool for? I think there are, but I think it's fewer and further between than most people would think.
Wow. I do know that we've talked about this before on the show, as you can imagine. It comes up, and sometimes I've seen the commercials, and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound so bad to me, And then I talked to Tim about it, and he, obviously you're echoing what he said as well, which is I got the sense that he's not the biggest fan of reverse mortgages, and neither are you. No. Though, as you say, case by case. It's not to say that some haven't benefited from it to some degree, but I think there are other ways. The key, as you said, is if you're thinking that way, get with someone like you guys to at least spell it out, and maybe you can come up with a more cost-effective, better way of doing things.
I think there's always a more cost-effective and better way of doing it.
Than reverse mortgage. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Okay, well, you guys are very nice, but I think not, in general, you guys are not big fans of that. I'm sorry, do we have someone on line one that I need to take, or do we take them all? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's take Rebecca. Rebecca, good morning. Hi, Rebecca.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. I just got a question. My father just turned 92. And we cannot get him help anywhere. I mean, he's a veteran, but they say he can't go to the VA because he wasn't wounded in World War II. And there's a process of having to get him into the nursing home, but it's a long, drawn-out thing. And he's been falling. He's been trying to stay by himself, but that's not happening. And because he's been falling and everything. How do you get help for someone that can't really afford it and they don't have a caregiver?
All right, he's a veteran, a World War II veteran. What are your thoughts on that? Where should he go?
So there are a lot of thoughts on that. So the first thing is we need to get his care right. He's having falls in the home. That's exactly what we talked about. His independent, dependent level, he is going to the dependent side, and the care that he requires at this point is not catching up. And that creates a danger area. He is in a danger zone where he is living in a place that is not set up for his needs anymore, and that's a hard realization to come to. As a veteran, he should, with the VA, there's a patient advocate's office, and that's where I would start, because there are different priority groups. It's not, well, you get it or you don't. They categorize. There are 8 different priority groups right now, or who gets the health care, and that would be the first thing that I would explore, because I have a hard time believing that he doesn't meet some level of help with the Veterans Health Administration, and that's on the health care side.
Okay.
Then you have the Veterans Benefit Administration, and that's the other side, and that's the side where you can have something like the non-service connected pension, a service connected pension where they do a disability rating. And so what he needs to do is reach out. He can reach out to a local veteran service officer.
Right.
Every county in the state of Tennessee
Every county
has one.
Some counties have better ones than others.
That is true.
And I've just been dealing with that. You have to find them. There is a bureaucracy there.
There is.
And even when you get going on it, my brother-in-law is in the process of trying to get a benefit for his exposure to Agent Orange.
Right.
Didn't even know really that was available to him. And we've gone through some hoops with, and the individuals that work at these offices are very nice people.
Oh, they're wonderful
but they're
people.
Overworked, and most of them are doing it as a labor of love because they're former veterans themselves. They're not getting rich doing
That's
this.
right. And I always talk about the VA. People, you know, the VA was in the news for the last couple of years, and it wasn't always good. And I always tell people, listen, the VA is filled with wonderful people working very, very hard, and what they are is very over-mandated and very underfunded.
Oh boy.
And it's
the needs
difficult.
that are out there.
The
It's
needs
so
are
hard.
huge. And so reaching out to a veteran service officer, I know Davidson County has multiple veteran service
Yep.
officers. And then there are other organizations. Operation Stand Down would be a great one to reach out, a phone call to. I've had dealings with them in the past. They are absolutely phenomenal people, and they do good work. When you reach out to them, they jump on the issue, and I can't jump on that one enough. And then I understand finances are tight, but again, a little investment up front usually pays great dividends on the back end. And reaching out to an expert in the field, finding an elder law attorney, and someone who can navigate you through, even if you're just there for an initial consult, and get some, what I always kind of refer to as a cardinal direction and distance. You need to go here and start with this and that. Those are crucial things, and they can make a huge difference. But as a veteran, there are resources out there for him, and it pains my heart to hear a story like that, where he's having falls in the home and doesn't feel like he's getting the care he needs, because the resources are out there. And the unfortunate thing is many people just don't know where to get started.
Oh yeah, it's hard to get started. No, we were going through that also. I actually looked into it with my father, who served in the Korean War, to see if there was any benefit out there that we weren't aware of that could help with the assisted living facility. And you're right, there's different levels of it. And the thing is, he is a veteran and served, but he did not serve technically within the window of wartime.
That's right, they have those
And that is a
wartime
criteria that if you're in wartime, there are many more, and I can understand perhaps why. That was just the luck of the draw for my dad.
Right.
But he ended up just being outside that window. He was still there serving. The conflict had not ended entirely, but he was not in wartime, and that can be a difference. If you serve during wartime, it seems like there's more benefits available.
And the big one that we're referring to is the non-service connected pension.
Yeah.
And so that's if there's a financial means test, and they just upgraded the rules here. 18 October, they set new regulations, and so your net worth cap is now at $123,600.
And that's another thing, looking at net worth. So in my father's case, maybe as time goes on, as he lives on, he may get to the point where his situation changes, where he does qualify for some things. Right now, he does not.
Right.
And one of the reasons is he was not. I had to go on there and say, all right, so what was the war dates for Korean War? I mean, it was between. It's set. Every conflict has times of war, actual combat kind war, and then outside that realm.
That's right.
And
you
if
can
you're
Google
outside it, yeah, you can Google it. And it'll tell you
wartime periods.
this is wartime for Korean War, and if you're not in that, you're probably not eligible for as much. Listen, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, Wayne, Jack, and others, we'll get your phone calls right after this with our guest.